Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie and I'm a mixed media artist, which basically means I will play with just about all the things in an art shop and don't have to stay in my aisle. I can shop in all of the others as well and mix everything up gloriously, and I love that. It's fun. And I have something for you today, which, little bit of a spoiler here, excuse me. These are magic pencils. Now, they've been around for a long time. I can remember as a child in the 1970s, so last century, that I can remember getting them and playing with them as a child. And I sort of thought, well, you know, let's leave that in childhood where I felt it belonged at the time. But actually, they've come on very, very well since. And they're a lot different. And there are things in our mixed media practice that we can use them for, which is even more exciting. So what I want to do is to show you these today and do a little swatch and see what we can come up with, and also just talk through where they might fit into a mixed media practice, because some of these things can be gimmicky and they really, you know, some of them just are. Others, it depends how you use them, and that's what I want to explore in the next few months. Before we get into all that, let's do the housekeeping. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and a comment if you have the time. And if you like what you see here, and some of my work and sketchbooks and what have you, please consider joining my Patreon, where I teach art, and it's all taught in English. And when I say teach art, I mean properly. They are proper art lessons where you learn to paint and draw with mixed media. And quite useful, really, because we are using all of the arty things in a way that they weren't actually designed for. It's a little bit like trying to ice a cake with a lawnmower and then complaining because it didn't work. Lawnmowers weren't designed for that. So art lessons can really cut to the chase and stop a lot of disappointment. So do consider that. €10 a month, and for that you get a lot of videos. There's 3 videos a week. A lot more in December, I can tell you, because our advent calendar is coming up. So now is a good time. Right, back to the case in point. Magic pencils. What are they? I've got a few different ones here. I've got some from Koh-I-Noor. These are also Koh-I-Noor. And I have a Lyra one for sort of reference. And I found that in my local post office, where I thought, you know what, since we're doing this, I'll grab another brand and we can sort of have a look at them together. This is the Christmas set, and it's a really nice tin. Honestly, you can sell me anything if the packaging's nice, or if it's in an art shop, or if it's just for sale, really. I mean, I've got no sales resistance. I like nice packages, and a tin with a retro design really does it for me. This is the set of Koh-I-Noor magic pencils, and there is one blender. So it's 23 plus 1, and a few people have sort of said, well, why plus 1? Why not just 24? Simply because this isn't a pencil. This is a blender, and it's used differently to the others. So I want to swatch those, and I will start with these since these are out of the starting gate first. So as I said, what is a magic pencil? Well, magic is a bit of a marketing tool, of course. But what they effectively are is a pencil with several colours in the one core. And you can get a bit of an idea from the barrel as well that we're dealing with something quite nice. Not from Lyra, you don't get anything of the sort, but Koh-I-Noor do have some special sort of barrels, and they're nice. These are a lot bigger than these, as you can see if I put them together here. But these have a wooden core very, very similar to a normal pencil. Here, air quotes there. And nice end cap. They feel good. They feel good in the hands. These are weird. They are a lot heavier than you would think. They don't have any wood around them. They just have a covering, which is sharpenable. But they are super, super heavy and quite cold. It's really quite strange. So that's them. These just feel like normal pencils. And yes, they are the sort of thing that you might give a child to play with, but like I said, we can use them as well. So the first thing is, what do they do? Well, you can just put them all together and make a swatch like so. And if you go for quite a long time in the one spot and mix the colours, you will get, with some of them, you will get something quite dark, and we're starting to go to green here. I don't know, I'm hoping you can see that quite well. You've got all the colours that are actually present in here, and if you keep going in the one spot, they mix themselves. And of course, you can make a line where you rotate the pencil and you can get all sorts of effects with the line. I don't know what I would use this for. I tell you what they would be good for is on plein air. If you wanted to take 3 pencils out but you didn't have much space, this is 3 pencils. As I said, by moving them around in a circle, and if you have a look, you'll see the writing going past as I do this. By doing that, you access all, I'm not hoping that it's all visible, you access all the colours that are in that particular one. And like I said, move it in the one direction, just keep it there. It goes quite dark. So basically, if you want all the colours, you can move it. If you want to access one colour, you can move it to where that colour seems to be and leave it there. And if you go in the one space, it will mix all the colours together for you and make something pretty dark. I'm going to swatch these today using little mushrooms because I figured, oh well, magic mushrooms. So just by doing this and moving around, I can either get a completely multicoloured top, or I can access the particular colours that I need to shade or highlight. And it's quite sweet actually. And like I said, you just don't know. I think for birds, I think for flowers, I think for fruits and things like that, mushrooms, these can have a real place in our kit. They're not exceptionally expensive. These weren't too cheap, to be fair, and I did buy all of these. I prefer to do it that way so that I can give an honest evaluation. So yeah, these are bought in a little kit from Amazon actually, and this is one, and then we have another one here. Let's do another little mushroom. I like the idea of moving them around and getting to where need to be. They feel quite soft and creamy. I'm working in my Hahnemuhle Nostalgia sketchbook, which my students will not be surprised about that, because actually it's it feels quite nice for this. It's pretty smooth paper, which means you can get fabulous detail for mixed media work. So there's a couple of them. Let's try this one here as well. And again, by moving it around, you see where the colour is then. It does change though, but supposing you want to bias that colour into a particular area of your drawing, there for example, and then finding it again here to get some shade. And you can use it on the side to get a different effect. And they're not necessarily related. The set is, but in these jumbo pencils, it's all over the place. And there's so much different stuff in there. It's just really, it's interesting and fun. It introduces a note of fun. We don't have to be without fun. And even, yeah, I mean, we can still call ourselves a serious artist and have some fun. This one's got some blue in it. The ones with the blue in it will achieve these darker tones. The others with the lighter just won't. That's an interesting one. It's all interesting. Gone a bit rogue there on the side. This one is the neon one, and this is probably the one I would use the least because I'm not a fan. What I am going to do is I'm going to move some things around here so we can actually see what I'm doing. How would that be? If you could all see what I'm doing. Oh gosh, that's quite bright. Yeah, I don't have any use for anything that's that bright. My work is in the very much the muted colour spectrum. Yeah, that one is probably going to be given away and donated to somebody. It looks like it's plugged into something. These here, although you could not possibly call them muted. Let me give you an example of what I normally do in case you haven't seen it. This is last night's art practice, just playing around with bits and pieces and so forth. But as you can see, I do a lot of sort of more muted work and these sorts of things. So having something that's quite as bright as that, I love him. I really want to adopt him. I probably have, because to be fair, if it wasn't a bear, it looks exactly like my Cocker Spaniel. So as you can see from that, I've got very, very little room in my life for something that's that bright. It's nuclear. So I'm not sure. It came in a packet, which is what you get when you get a set. And because these are not really available in open stock that I've found in my area, it has been a matter of get what you get and don't throw a fit about it. So I've got that one. Go me. But these, even though these aren't really muted at all, as you can see here, when you keep on going in the one direction, you can mute them down a little bit, and they still fit into a practice because, I mean, this is what colour flowers are sometimes. This is what colour birds are sometimes. And to be able to access all of that from one pencil, like I said, for en plein air painting, it would be actually very valuable. So this one is the Lyra one. And let's do the little mushroom again. This one is different. These are the Koh-I-Noor ones are mixed very, very randomly, and you've got to work quite hard to find the colour you want by moving the pencil around as you're working. This one is actually, it's like a beach ball. It's extremely laid out as to where each colour is. So if you were to make a random sample, you could go on one colour for some time, and of course because there's blue in there, you'll sometimes get it. It's not a very dark blue, mind you, but when mixed with the red, I just keep going in the same direction there, or in the same spot, it's almost as dark as that one. But yeah, don't know, I think I prefer the others actually. Still have to move this around, but you could sort of get onto one part of it and completely wear it down. Yeah, this might be another one for the donation box because it's 4 pencils in one. Go over the top again. It's creamy. It's nice to use, especially on this very smooth paper. It's a bit psychedelic for me. I tend towards a bit more conservative sort of aspect. What I do like about them, if I was doing something with lines, for example, something rather quick, you could get a nice, like you can see here, you would get a nice varied line, and they change as you move them around. So, you know, we could move and paint a little house. Don't know. This is just too bright for me, this one. But like I said, they will mix and mute themselves down eventually. But I don't know. It's great to have all the colours in one, but they're still too primary for my liking. Yeah. These two might go into the too hard basket. The others, however, I can see a use for those. So what about this set here? If you were to spend the money for this set here, like I said, you get a blender pencil, and the blender pencil is awfully good for further muting them down. It doesn't work particularly well with some. Some work better than others. It's in the kit, so it's one of those things. How does it work on the other brand? Yeah, it's okay. It dirties it a bit. It's something that might be useful at some point. And don't forget, when you have things like this, it is better on some paper than others. It is better in some climates than others too, as we all know from our art supplies. But I want to have a look at these. Now, one thing you notice when you first open the box, apart from the fact they're heavy and cold, nice cap on the end, so it presents as very good quality. Some of them are quite subtle. Like these here, you might wonder why there are so many yellows in there. I'm still wondering that, and we're about to find them out. I haven't tested these yet. These here, they have a few different colours, and I have a suspicion from looking at these others here that these will work best if they've got some very high contrasting colours in. I suspect that these you won't be able to tell them from just a yellow pencil. So let me see if I'm right or not. Let's start with the usual, the mushrooms. It's very, very light indeed. And yeah, I don't see the point of this one. Oh, and they break. That was my fault for pressing too hard, I suspect. Yeah, that's just a yellow pencil in my opinion. I guess after seeing some of these, see, I quite like the way that one's turned out in the colouring, and this is just a yellow pencil. So that was one that I think, well, I'm not sure I'd bother. This looks like it's going to be exactly the same. So just moving it around to make sure that I'm getting access to all the colours, which in these are also highly random, same makers as the jumbo ones. It's only the one with the plain barrel that's a different one. There again, to me, that's a yellow pencil, and again, could be useful, very nice, but it's not in any way magic. Let's try this one. Right, got a bit of darker, richer colour here now, and can access that. Still a matter of rolling it round to get to where it's supposed to be. Mushrooms look like lampshades, but I suppose they probably do anyway. I can see that for illustrators and people who don't do what I do with art, these might be really quite useful. I'm still going to make them work because I've bought them now. I'm going to make them work. But I can see that people who do a different style of illustration to me would find them extremely useful. That's got more variation in it. This one has more still. So I think we're back now into a territory where they might look a little bit better. Because for these two here, I honestly think they could have left one out. This has got more orange, actually. The orange is very dominant in this one. Extremely so. And when you look at the barrel, you could be forgiven for thinking it's another yellow one, but the orange is actually super dominant. So I'm sure there's some yellow in there. And of course, the point is it's mixing in with the other, so it's not so noticeable. But yeah, not sure. It's a nice orange. Let's try this one, shall we? Slightly sort of more subtle version of the same thing. Also, the orange is dominating whatever yellow might be in there. I think where you've got the colours that are very similar, it's not going to be quite as dramatic. Let's see what we can do with our blender pencil, see if that works at all. It sort of does, but I think the pencil did just as well. Yeah, it smooths out a bit, it burnishes it. What you've got to be very careful with these sorts of products is the way they work is they're pushing down the tooth of the paper. So when you're doing the sort of work that I do, oh, this was our Halloween thing on my Patreon this for October. But when you look at stuff like this, there are layers upon layers of interesting things. Like I said in the introduction, all the art shop aisles are being used. So therefore, you don't want to push the paper tooth down too much, because there's only a limit, especially on this very smooth paper. There's a limit as to how much you can put on anyway when it comes to pencils. That's why I like mixed media, because if you've actually got to the point where the paper will not take any more pencil, you can swap to acrylic marker, which is great. Or something else like pastels or something. So with these burnishing pencils, you've got to be rather careful, because the burnishing action pushes the tooth down. So if I wanted to put something else over the top of this, it would become increasingly quite difficult. So yeah, I'm not sure that I would use this a lot. I think I'd be more likely to use the pencil in a more subtle way to do the same thing of blending and smoothing, if indeed blending and smoothing was what you wanted. Because, I mean, apart from that travesty that looks like a 2-year-old did it, these others have got interest because of the texture. And I am honestly all about texture. I love as much texture as I can possibly get in my work. That one takes the texture away. So I don't know. Again, these two are subtle variations of the same thing, but what I've got so far is 3 yellow and 2 orange pencils. I do like the little snowflakes on them. Well, this one's probably better to show you. This is a Christmas packaging, I suspect, but really quite pretty, delicate snowflakes. Right, this one. Let's have a go at this one, because this has got some more interesting colour combination. I like the pink. It's a bit of darker pink or red in there. I end up buying things that are quite gimmicky sometimes, because I want to try them out, as do we all. But I don't know if I'm going to use some of these. I may use some right down to the last tiny bit of lead, or I might not touch them ever again. We'll have to see. There are a few things in my art room in that sort of category. The good thing about art materials is, I mean, I'm working on a project for my Patreons at the moment, and I dug out this acrylic paint from Jo Sonia. This is 30 years old, this tube, and it still works like the day I got it. I also have some pastels, oil pastels, that my son was given when he started primary school. He's 28, and so are they. They may even be older, because they might have been sitting in a warehouse somewhere. They still work perfectly. So if I've got, if space allows, having a box of pencils that I don't use every day is not the end of the world. I'm pretty sure worse things happen at sea. This is going to be another one of these. I don't think there's enough variation in the colour. Let's have a look and see. And as predicted, you get a sort of an effect, but it's much, much more subtle. So I don't know where I'm up to at the moment. Do I like these because they're just pencils? And of course, coloured pencils are wonderful. Or am I after the streakiness of the... See, that's, again, like these, not enough contrast. This one's the best one so far with these others. This is a reddish orange pencil. It's really nice, fabulous. I can imagine doing blackberries, yes, with a red pencil. I can imagine doing raspberries and things like that with this. So that might be good. Here we are again. We've got some blue in this one. So this one is going to give us a lot more bang for our buck, as it were. It's more than blue, that. I think it's even a dark grey. So that's an interesting colour. There will emerge some favourites from this. And as you can see, you can manipulate them if you want the darker colour, then roll it round to get a highlight on the other side. Gosh, that's our national flag almost. So that one works. I quite like that. Some things I buy because I love them. Some things I buy because I've seen somebody else using them and I quite like the look of them. And some things I buy because they're just so strange. They intrigue me, and I'm thinking that these might go into that box. Right, this one's got a, looks like a red and a blue and another colour somewhere in between. Maybe a purple. Gosh, okay. One thing is for sure, I'm going to know how to paint this or to sketch this little mushroom by the time we're finished. I will be an expert at this particular mushroom / lampshade. I'm having a lot of trouble accessing the red. It's a very Halloween-y one, this. Black and purple, I suspect. Well, there's some red. Now that we've finished, the red's decided. That's okay. See, again, I don't mind that. That's a blackberry combination. And getting these colours into that sort of sphere might work. This one here has got some interesting combos as well. We've got an aqua in there and a pink and an orange. It's certainly good for manual dexterity because you've got to do several things at once. Gosh, this one's scribbled. See if we can blend it a bit. Or I just sit here and pretend that that's exactly the effect I was going for. That's probably better. That's the thing with art. You can do what you like, can't you? As long as you can explain it away. Good God. Yeah, you can teach a monkey to do this. Seriously, that's awful. But if you keep going, you can even it out again by finding the same colour eventually, or not. Don't mind this. I can see how that would be useful for if you were doing an illustration with clothing, you know, people and clothing in it. You could get some really interesting effects. This one looks like another one of those ones that's not terribly not different enough to be interesting. There are some different pinks in there. Certainly a nice pink. Interesting. Hard to get the bits together because they're very subtle. This one is anything but subtle. So there's a subtle pink and this is the unsubtle pink. And I suspect the blue will be rather dominant. How about I don't turn it, see what happens. I think I turned it by accident. It's all go here. I love the colour. That's got to be one of my favourites, strangely. Considering what I just showed you that I do, it's weird. It's really quite nice. Well, we're going to have a little patch of the most magic mushrooms in the art world, aren't we? This one's interesting too. I do notice that I'm doing the ones that I find interesting a little bit bigger. No bias here. Yeah, this has got an aqua and a burgundy. It sort of looks like a computer glitch the way it comes together. The trick is finding the colour you need or mixing two together. You would think that these would be really muddy and grubby, but they're really not. They've just... It's interesting pattern-wise. Another one that's not very different and probably a little bit too subtle. Just going to be another blue pencil. It's interesting though. all sorts of different blues. Like I said, it feels so heavy and cold. You wouldn't believe it. If the others, the jumbo ones, don't feel like this. These do, though. You think, oh, well, that's going to be quite light, and it's really, really not. Let's make that a better shape. Nope, just going to make it look weird on the side now. So I don't think we can pick that one out as being weird. No weirder than all the others, that's for sure. And another one that's probably not different enough to be dramatic. Very similar. I'm not quite sure that either of those two, you know, one of those two probably could have stayed out. Can I fit another one in here? I'm sure I can. Getting very sick of this shape of mushroom. Like I said, also getting very good at it now. There's a little bit of purple in this one. Doesn't really want to make itself known though. Might have to sort of wear down into the barrel a little bit before you get them all out. I don't know. But it's quite... Actually, that's not bad, that one. It feels nice too. Really creamy, that one. More so than some of the others, actually. And as we all know, well, if we don't, I'm about to tell you, that can be pigment dependent. I really like that one. This is a drama queen, so let's see what it can do. Never in my life have I ever described a pencil as a drama queen, but I think the appellation does fit here in this case. If I was to do one of my favourite 5 series, I'd only need 2 of these pencils. And almost would have exceeded the entire brief. Yeah, it's more of a mixture, that. Very, very difficult to get the colour to stay where you need it to be. Right, here's another one. So not as drama queeny as I thought. This one's the same deal, but with yellow more dominant and green instead of blue. I think line work will be very useful, depending on what I'm doing, but also, yeah, some colouring. I still think fruits, flowers, vegetables, that sort of thing. Green, and again, quite sort of similar colours. It's just enough in there to make it interesting. I'm a green person. I love green, and I'm fussy about the green that I call my favourite. This isn't it. This certainly isn't it. I like a really nice muted dull green. So let's have a look here and see. Yeah, this is the Christmas green that I'm not fond of. Although I like that little hint of yellow in it. Can I find that again? No. Right, we have a stripe of yellow. And I've just shown the world that I can't colour in properly. Can't stay in the lines. It's not that bad, actually. I would be interested to know what this would be like with a bit of red in it, because red mutes green. This one's a nice one. I like this sort of colour because I am at home the most in the autumn. So let's have a look. Does it disappoint? Not really. Oops, outside the lines again. Messy colouring in. Must do better. I do like that one though. that would be really good for birds and things like that, where you can get a little bit of variation without having to change colours, because you've got some highlights, you've got the dark area, and if you keep going in much the same area and access the darks, there's probably just enough subtle variation there to actually work with. So that's a good one too, bit of a favourite. This one's quite dramatic as well. It's got a fair bit of contrast. Goodness, no two lines the same. It really is interesting to try and get them to play nicely. But you can go over the top a bit, get some of the colour mixing back. That one could work too. Spending a bit of time with it and sort of seeing what it's like. Lucky last is the grey one. I'm not terribly into greys, but as the Philistines say, I know what I like. This is a cold grey, less yellow in it. I'm determined to go outside the line on every stroke in exactly the same place. I dare say to a good psychologist, or even a mediocre one really, that would mean something. Okay, so yeah, quite a dark but cold grey. I prefer a warm grey, but I don't dislike this. I think you could work with it. I quite literally wasn't sure what to expect with these, and I've surprised myself as much as anyone else. That's not bad either. Again, I think I'm probably drawn naturally to these sorts of colours. That one I'm not so sure about. I think that needs some work. But these sorts of ones are really quite good. I like that one. I kind of like I don't know, I can't describe it. It's the same as these ones up here. If I hold that up to the camera, it looks like a computer glitch. But it really, really works. That one doesn't. That one, like I said, these three look like, well, two, count. These look like a child did them. Oh, God. And you've got to find the colour again. I don't really like the predictability of the Lyra one as much, where you've got the actual, gosh, I can't find any of the colours now. Yeah, where you've got the colours more divided up. I think I prefer the ones that are a little bit more random and you get what you get, although you can bias it. This one I just don't like at all. It's horrible. I don't like the graininess. You can't find anything worth having. So no, if you get a chance not to buy the neon one, take it, because goodness. Do I think these are worth the spend? I don't know. I'll have to have a look at my practice over the next couple of months, and if you never see these again, you'll know that they are going to go into the basket of, yeah, I shouldn't have bought those. I would like to put them in somewhere and see how I can use them. And like I said, some of these are just yellow pencils or orange pencils or even red, pink, blues. They're just pencils. So if I need a pencil and they happen to come to hand, then I would use them. I don't paint en plein air very often. I like being in my studio, so I don't see using them anywhere else other than there. However, if that changes and I do decide to poke my head out of the door at some point, these might be a pretty good set to take, because actually you've got hundreds of pencils here, technically. You can also almost certainly mix them together, which is worth I'm going to have a play with that. And I'm going to do some sketches, which I will put up onto my Patreon for you guys to look at if you need to. My Patreons see this video as a pre-release, so I will have a bit of a play and see what I can come up with. And like I said, coming into the warmer months where things have got a little bit of a gaudy flower, or even for wildflowers. I'd like to know how I could use these for wildflowers, because at the moment, as I showed here, I'm doing a lot of things that you find in November, and I love all of these. I don't want to say dead things, but technically they are. They're dead things. They were living in the summer. So, for example, these had poppies on them, and now they're just rattly seed heads. The honesty looked different. Now it's all dry and stuff like that. Pine cones are probably not in that category, but things like Queen Anne's lace and Bishop's lace and all that cow parsley, they all lived once and had flowers. So I love the shapes and the colours that you get in November. Very, very much browns and things like that. So I think if we wind that clock back a bit, I'm not sure if I actually... Oh, yeah, I do have some flowers here. So as you can see, this is the sort of stuff that I do with things. And having some flowers, these are prints. These are jelly prints, all of these. But, yeah, I do like to have wildflowers like this. And there are lots of ways that I can use them. Mushrooms, these are the sorts of mushrooms I normally do. Birds, like I said, birds and things like that. Backgrounds, where you're trying to get a background. For example, some of these areas here where you've got your subject, you've got the secondary that the subject's sitting on, and then you've got all of the background to bring together to make an actual picture. I can see some of these being super useful. In fact, let's have a play here with this one where we can move it round to actually fill in an area that just needs some texture. Yeah, see, that's working really nice as far as I'm concerned. That's what I'm talking about. So you introduce some texture without introducing anything a different colour. Going to do it again now. Oh, this could take us all day. So that is definitely a use for these, depending on the colour. I promise I won't go and do another one. I actually really like that. I like the effect that it's had. And I have got other things under here as well. She says continuing on despite saying that I wouldn't. I'm obviously not to be trusted. These have got some neo art on them as well, these fields. So I guess that's the next thing I need to do on as a tutorial, is a deep dive to see how they play with other things that we've got. What do they go over? I'm guessing from my knowledge, not much. They don't feel like this. They're not like Derwent drawing pencils where you can tell they're going to layer over things. But I really love the effect on the fields. Can't stop now. Right, do stop. Put it down, sit on your hands. Right, I've got my hands crossed here in my lap, so to speak. I'm not doing any more. I like that. And, you know, the blue ones for water, I can see them useful in water, because it is one thing to buy something. We might sit there and say, well, that wasn't very much money. If I don't use it, it doesn't matter. These were 47 euros. And to me, for a small packet of pencils like this that may or may not work for me, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of risk. But I really like what they've done here in this distant paddock, where they've added some texture, because when I paint a picture like this, there's always an area that needs something. You don't want to put too many different colours in, so to have it all in the one pencil, that could work. Yes, Daisy has decided, my little Cocker Spaniel, she has decided that's the end of it. No, you're not coming up, just wait. Sorry, you're going to have to wait. Let's be polite about it. Yeah, so I can see a definite use for these. It's going to take me a little while to work it out, and I will include them in other portraits in other tutorials. I mean, I don't do portraits, so why that came to mind, I don't know. And I think they might fit into a favourite 5, a special magical edition of favourite 5. Right, well, as you can hear down here, or maybe not, she's revving up for a big one, so I think we'll call it quits. What do you think? Is this something that you would like to see more of and see used a little bit more? How would you use them? Do you use them? Because like I said, they're not new. They're just something that I've decided that is now's the time. That's all it is. They're certainly not new. They've been around for quite a while. And these are a particularly nice quality, actually. They feel all right to use, but they need a deep dive as to how they will layer over other things. Yeah, but let me know. What do you think, and what would you use them for? What would you like to see me experiment using them for? That sort of thing. Right, I'll sign off now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and do consider joining my Patreon channel. A lot of these things that you've seen in here are tutorials on there, so you can actually learn step by step, and I narrate the whole way. No speeding up, putting music on. Tell people what they're meant to be doing. That's the ethos, and show how it's achieved. But yeah, let me know what you think. I would be interested to know. And on that note, I shall see you again very, very soon. This time next week, to be fair. Okay, bye for now. Bye.